Now it's time for Union County EDGEcast, a podcast to discuss the current economic development environment within Union County, North Carolina, the greater Charlotte area, the state of North Carolina, and beyond. During this time, Chris will discuss many topics with guests ranging from industrial leaders, important allies, and thought leaders throughout the economic development landscape. You can also find the video version of this episode on the Monroe-Union County Economic Development's YouTube channel and other social media platforms. Please know that the views, information, or opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the policies or positions of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. Now let me introduce your host, Chris Platé, Executive Director of Monroe-Union County Economic Development.
Well, today is our first ever podcast. So our guest today is Mr. Clint Lawrence of Lawrence Associates, located here in Union County, and actually in downtown Monroe. So welcome, Clint.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I do appreciate you volunteering to be our first guest here.
Certainly.
You guys have always been a good sponsor of our efforts, and appreciate everything that you and your family have done to support us. This capability that we now have here with the podcasting is being created through the generous support of you guys and a lot of other folks in the private sector that are patron sponsors of the Union County Economic Development Growth Enterprise. And so that's our 501c3 arm that allows us to do some things a little bit more creative. And so this is one of those. So again, appreciate that support.
Certainly.
So the purpose of the podcast is to bring information to folks around the area and sort of how we come and how that will come about to affect, the economic development efforts here in Union County, in Monroe, and all of our municipalities. So as we want to do going forward with our guests is kind of bring up something light. And so let's start out with just the easy stuff. So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Monroe and then raised in the New Salem area of Union County. Went to Piedmont High School.
Excellent. Union County guy.
Yep.
So and which school did you go to? College?
UNCC, so Charlotte.
UNC Charlotte. Excellent.
Yep.
Man, that place has changed.
It has.
Dramatically.
It has grown a lot.
So is President Dubois, or Chancellor Dubois, I guess, is he gone now?
I think he's transitioning out.
Yeah. He has been transformational.
He has.
With some of the investments and bringing football, obviously, is something near and dear to my heart is college football. So
we got to see the Niner-Clemson game in Clemson.
That's right. That's right.
So it's been exciting. The change has been huge there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think the region needed was a good, larger university that sort of felt like it was a full encompassing. It wasn't sort of a suitcase college. And,
I agree.
And it has now become that. I mean, is it the one? I think it's the largest in the system, if not close.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know it's graduating enough engineers. Quite a few engineers now that you're really seeing them in the market. Where before seems like we encountered more, state Clemson in what we do, but now you see a lot of fellow Niners.
That's awesome. Yeah. So one of the things I don't think people realize about you specifically that you and I've talked about is some of your love for craft beer.
Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about how that developed and maybe some of your favorites?
Yeah, certainly. I guess it developed just through friendships, traveling. That's probably my other big love is travel. And if we're somewhere just stopping, checking out the local craft brewery, having a beer, and just hanging out with friends. Local favorites, Heist in Charlotte, High Branch in Concord. There's some good stuff local in Union County that we'll stop and just catch up with friends and just spend some time.
Yeah. Now, how do you have friends that help trade craft beers back and forth? I think isn't there something like that where?
Yeah, I mean, there's some friends that'll trade back and forth. If somebody's coming in town, they'll bring something local.
Yeah.
Or if I'm traveling, go see a football game or something out of town, have some friends in Pennsylvania, so I'll take something to them. They'll send something back with me, and just something to kind of unite and share together.
I think we talked about one of my favorites is actually, you can't get it. They want to export it out of Wisconsin, but is spotted cow. So it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out of Wisconsin. There's a lot of fruit beers, I believe.
Oh, really?
I had an old neighbor from Wisconsin, and he would bring stuff back, or his sister would bring it.
Yeah.
So I'll have to ask him about that one in particular.
Yeah, please do. That's a good one. If there's a way to get some, I'd love to know how.
All right, I'll work on that.
Yeah. So Lawrence Associates obviously been around a long time. Your dad started that. And
he did.
So through the years, you've grown. Your capabilities have grown, obviously, with your brothers and other capabilities that y'all have brought to the organization. So now your footprint's a little bit larger.
Right.
You clearly are bigger than a Union County company from that aspect. So with that, you have I would assume, a good pulse of kind of what's going on in the marketplace. So what projects are you seeing kind of happening? What are some of the sectors that may be just seeing a little bit more investment than others right now?
Sure. With everything going on, probably, starting mid-March, things started slowing down. It got a little quieter. Single family, we don't do too much single family, but that definitely slowed down. We're heavy on the construction staking survey side. The commercial clients seem to have kept going.
Okay, good.
A few projects have been put on hold, but for the most part, everybody's pushing forward, especially if the project was already under construction. They're wanting, completion. We have a lot of municipal work, and that has stayed steady.
Oh, good.
So really, even the single family, which I said we don't do much of, the tract builders are still looking at property. So, I get the vibe. It slowed a little bit, but it feels a lot better right now than it did 2 months ago. Yeah. The phone's starting to ring, the emails are flying. Right. Everybody's kind of checking back in. I think people are getting back into their office where they were working from home. You'd have a call and you'd hear kids in the background.
Right.
So I think people are getting back, and it definitely feels a lot better now than it did 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, I think we're feeling the same thing. I think year over year, going to like January 1st to May 1st, we were down like 55% in our activity. Again, we're a small segment of the overall development, but yeah, you're right. It does seem like since the beginning of May, for us, we've had prospect activity starting to pick up. And,
good.
Yeah, the biggest thing for us is just trying to find innovative ways to show property when people not still traveling the way that they were before. So you're trying to do things virtually and just be creative. So it's really interesting
somehow.
Exactly. Obviously, y'all can't do that. You need to be on the ground. I mean, you guys do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is surveying, civil work, stormwater work. What other, explain a little bit about the services and sort of what innovations or what things are happening in that world that we should be up to speed on.
Sure. So we're survey heavy in that construction layout. Pre-design surveys, pretty much anything in the survey world. Clients in that are, landfill clients, contractors, again, a lot of municipal work, doing a lot of data entry or inventory, being water and sewer. Everybody's trying to track stuff through GIS.
Oh, yeah.
So we've moved into the GIS sector. Okay. We have somebody just doing that now. That's probably the biggest innovation for us is GPS survey grade inventory collection for modeling and for just tracking. We just wrapped up that for the Republican National Convention for that service area. So we collected water sewer for that. Just turned that over probably a month ago, and then we're moving to other sectors within Charlotte and Mecklenburg County.
Perfect. I think one of the things we were talking about, a few days ago was how maybe stormwater may be the tail wagging the dog for some of our projects. Can you explain some of that?
I'd be happy to. We'll have clients that'll find a piece of property and they'll say, hey, it's perfect. It's ready to go. Yeah. It's flat. The problem with that is you need to treat and detain the stormwater. So in order to do that, you need some topography, some relief of the property.
Yeah, early in my career, flat was perfect. You wanted flat. Now it's not so much.
It's not so much. You need that low end to put that stormwater control measure, funnel all the water to it, treat it, and then let it come out. Wow. So that is the thing, because you look at a piece of property, and a lot of times people will come to a site and they'll know what the building cost is, but they will not know what the site cost is, and it jumps up. It's normally a pretty substantial number,
right?
And it jumps up and surprises them.
Yeah, it's one of those things you don't necessarily appreciate,
right? And their budget was really for vertical,
right,
and everything inside, and maybe a little curb and gutter. But when the grading package comes along, it seems like it's always a shot.
Yeah, I think it probably catches some guys that have maybe been in the business a long time and haven't built recently,
right?
But they got some experience, and then they're caught.
That's right.
That. Yeah,
that's right.
And again, that really brings some value to what you guys do. I think sometimes people don't appreciate architecture and some of the pre-work that has to be done on a site. So, I mean, you're the tip of the spear when it comes to a lot of the projects that are in the development stage. And so, in that life cycle, you provide a lot of that value in the beginning. So can you explain sort of where that's helped some projects, some value engineering examples?
Yeah. Well, on that survey component, to have a current topo enables you to know how much earthwork you're moving for that project, so that when it's not in construction and you were using maybe a free version of topo that were 2-foot contours, that you don't have a substantial bust. Same thing with utilities. If you encounter a utility that has to be relocated, it slows your project, and then also you have to account for that cost of it. So, and there's always value engineering options throughout it as well, but most of the times it says utility relocations and just qualifying what has to be done, for that project.
That's crazy. So, when you look at some history, you've had some good projects and some bad projects, and I'm sure, as we in my world clearly have some of those. Is there some examples or some experiences? Like I know that you've done some work at Charlotte Douglas. What are some things there that maybe in another line of work you would never have the opportunity to do?
Yeah. Really that workflow is security. Charlotte Douglas, huge on security. So just going through their protocol, background checks, fingerprinting, and testing, just to have secure access, to the facility.
Wow. So you just basically can get onto the field with, obviously, with a need.
Right,
for the project.
with a need and coordination, sure.
But you're not going through and getting TSA searched before you go out and start a survey or do some other.
We definitely want to notify them.
Right, of course. But yeah, that's really good. I know it's always something that people can talk about when they're with their friends or something. Said, man, you won't believe what I had to do today.
Yeah,
you got to have that kind of a story. Like, we got. Cavity search, fingerprinted, background. Right. And still made it. Still got
so
clear.
So far, it's only impressed the kids.
I love it.
But they're very impressed.
Well, is there anything else that sort of in your world that's kind of interesting that people may want to hear about or would be important to an economic developer, from specifically, to do some things, some pre-work for a site? We do a lot of sort of pre-qualifications of a site, the qualified site program, where we try to get phase ones and surveys and all that. Is there certain components of that from y'all's perspective that seem to be the most valuable going forward in the development of a project? Is it the topo? Is it the ALTA survey versus a normal survey? What are some things that might be that you would recommend to a client?
Those are very good questions. Definitely the ALTA survey and the topo. I'm heavy on the survey side, so I'm going to lean toward those.
Right, of course, yeah.
But I've seen a lot of projects, somebody move along and then there's a large easement going through the property, but there's no utility. So can that easement be vacated or does it stay?
Right.
And that's not going to be identified without that ALTA. Because
Gotcha.
if there's nothing in it, you don't know to look for it.
Gotcha.
Same thing with that topo, for a potential client, if all that's in hand and they're serious and they start looking at the property, they can quickly come up with budget estimates.
Gotcha.
They know what hurdles are there. They can qualify, what's required.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is again our first one. I appreciate you willing to learn and help us do this process.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. And I actually, as much as we talk, I still learned something today. So I appreciate it. I think this is pretty much all the time we have for the first one. But again, we could not do this without the support of our patron sponsors for the Edge. And again, appreciate so much Lawrence Associates. 20 plus years support of our organization. And so we appreciate everyone that had the opportunity to listen to us or hopefully watching us. And if we'll bring some more content to you on a regular basis through this new format, as well as our other typical social media interactions. So thank you everyone for watching and listening.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks.